Today we are talking to Australian author, Gordon Smith, about his novel, Karanja Run.
Gordon, where do you prefer to compose most of your writing?
I prefer to compose and formulate my stories away from the hustle and bustle of the world. My preferred location is overlooking the Coral Sea at Kings Beach, or even at Shelley Beach, here at Caloundra on Queensland's Sunshine Coast.
So, how were you inspired to write Karanja Run?
After I had completed The Aboriginal Camel Ear, I wanted to expand my exploration of characters who live in the Australian rural areas.
Now, before you started to write Karanja Run, how did you decide on the subject?
I wanted to encapsulate the hard-working families that live far away from the big cities while concentrating on the siblings that would go on in their own directions while still being connected to their family and the family cattle station. I settled on a boy who was destined to take on the cattle station after his parents retired, a girl who would join the RFDS after she was trained as a nurse, and a rebellious younger girl who, after being expelled from a prestigious boarding school, learns to fly helicopters. I expanded the stories of the three of them in completely different directions, and yet there is still a strong upbringing that they all enjoy. Giles, the son, after he starts to take over the station, goes to ABNS Ball where he meets the love of his life. Gloria, the elder sister, trains as a nurse and eventually becomes an RFDS flight nurse, working in the outback. Alison, who after she becomes trained to fly helicopters, for cattle mustering duties, is offered a position with a search and rescue organization. After she has become a base commander, Alison goes on to a normal, everyday rescue of a sick sailor from an ocean-going yacht. Everything is not as it seems, and she and her crew are kidnapped by an Asian crime gang. Eventually, they are rescued from a jungle prison by an ingenious group that has been put together by a government agency. Giles and Gloria also get involved in their own adventures, and one of these concludes with a family tragedy.
Well, you decided on the basic story. So then how did you decide on the title?
To me it was obvious. The three of them are all tied together by the cattle station that they were raised on. Karanja Run is central to the story and is the obvious choice for the story title.
Gordon, what led you to determine the length of your story?
I needed to combine the family story along with the separate stories of each of the three main characters. Although Alison's adventures occupy the largest portion of the story, I needed to make the size of the work long enough to keep each sibling's episodes interesting. I did not need to stretch it out, so it became boring, like some stories become.
What would you consider to be one of the strongest, most emotional phrases in the story?
There are several that come to mind. Towards the end of the story, Gloria sees her pilot being taken by a crocodile. And later, Giles and his father are trapped in floodwaters. However, the most emotional phrase must be when Alison's crewman is murdered and his body is fed to sharks, all while being filmed for a ransom video. It was then they saw Phil's body and a chair being ravaged by a pack of sharks. In the water, Alison could see a lot of fish scraps. With tears rolling down her face, Alison murmured, "The mongrels threw Burley into the water to attract the sharks."
Thank you, Gordon, for your time today.
Karanja Run is available in both paperback and ebook formats from Amazon. You can explore Karanja Run on Amazon.